Hey, John here. So I've got this kitchen I just redone, minus the tile floor there. That's up next. But I did a few moves like this baker rack, these surfaces, and this kitchen counter. Uh, I made that, and some cabinets I made that didn't exist. But I wanted to go over this countertop, how you can make this countertop relatively inexpensive and relatively easy to do. Um, but I'm just showing you now. Also, the backsplash, we did that. I did that after the counter. But again, next up is the floor. But in the meantime, I just want to show this countertop, how cool you can make a countertop. Because this was, well, let me just show you. I'll show you. Okay, let me get you up to speed real quick. So this whole project started with this black refrigerator. We wanted a stainless refrigerator, a little bigger refrigerator, but it wouldn't fit where this black one was. As you can see, it's pulled away from the wall, so there's the contrast with the brown and the white. I had to remove a cabinet, a little two-door cabinet above the refrigerator, and it still didn't fit because the two little cabinets, the upper and lower on the left of the stove, were too wide. It just wouldn't fit. This new refrigerator is just a bigger refrigerator. So this prompted all this stuff to this project started from that refrigerator is what I'm getting at. I'm just pointing this out. And this countertop here is Formica. It's got a little texture to it, and the edges are trimmed out in oak, right? But I wanted to do a new countertop, and I couldn't do the countertop until I got these cabinets in place, and then we decided, well, let's just paint the cabinets to a color. And so prior to doing this, countertop, there were some moves I had to make, and I'll just show you a few pics to get you up to speed. And the backsplash, you can't really see it here, but the backsplash was just that stick-on tile look. It's just adhesive stuff, which was over an existing tile. So all that had to be removed. So this project took a little while, about a month or so. And we'll get to the countertop in a second. I'll just show you some moves along the way, so I can get to this countertop, because you can't paint, you can't do anything over a brand new countertop. So we had to do all these moves to get to the countertop, but that's what I'm just pointing out now. Okay, so the next move, after the counters, or the cabinets rather, were built, so to the left of the new refrigerator is, and it's hard to look at this because the wall's angled, but that strip of wood there is a hidden cabinet for brooms and Swiffers and stuff like that. And then there's a shelf on the top. Again, you can't really make that out, but the two cabinet doors above the refrigerator, I did keep those. Those are original, but the rest of that upper stuff is, built new. And because I'm building it, I decided to the right of the refrigerator, there's the upper, that's a hidden cabinet. And on the base there, to the right of the refrigerator, there's two hidden cabinets. The vertical one and the horizontal one are hidden cabinets, and I'll show you that too. But the backsplash there is the sticker stuff I was talking about. So all that has to be removed, including the tile behind it. There's tile behind that it was originally there, regular ceramic tile. So the stickers went over the ceramic tile. So all that has to be removed before I paint and all that. And I'll probably show you that too. But let me just show you right quick these hidden cabinets. And these are just moves, again, getting to so I can do this countertop. And it all started with a stinking refrigerator here. So let me show you them. So, like I said, on the left there, it's just like a broom closet. Got some broom swifters, that kind of thing. And this is, like I said, a angled wall. So there was nothing ever here. It was just a vacant spot. But I figured that's a good place to do a little filler there. So the cabinets to the right are, again, these are all newly built, right? Because the old cabinets just were too thick, right? And I can't even use the doors. I couldn't do anything because this is just too thin of a space. And as opposed to just putting, a blank wood, between the fridge and a microwave, this is why I decided, so this upper cabinet, it's skinny enough to get some spices and, little tchotchke stuff that you might need. And the bottom cabinet's a two-part cabinet. And again, just to the left of the stove, this countertop flips up, right? So you could put little spices on, horizontal underneath the counter there. And down below, things like, cutting boards, muffin trays, platters, that kind of thing, because it goes back to the wall, of course. So from there, I just, started taking the old backsplash down, and because I want to start painting this cabinet, these cabinets from left to right, and I'm just chasing myself with, removing the backsplash and then starting to paint, because again, I'm trying to do things in steps, but you can't get to this countertop deal until these other things are done, right? So, and I decided to, I went right down to the studs, taking the backsplash out, and uh, replacing it with plywood, a half-inch plywood, same thickness as the drywall. But I know I'm going to put a backsplash back on, so using the plywood was just a little easier for me as in terms of shaping things, and less of a mess and stuff like that. So we can finally start getting rid of this Formica. I already took the oak trim off, and I started to chisel the Formica off, and discovered that it is particle board underneath. And at this point, I wasn't sure if the sub counter was good enough, and it just wasn't. We're talking too many pock marks, too many things. So then I decided, well, I'll show you. All right, making more work for myself. So as I'm looking around and thinking about, I gotta fill, a bunch of stuff in. There's a bunch of stuff poking through them, but like screws and stuff. And just going around, I'll show you what I'm gonna do. I think because I got over here, I'm looking over here, and I'm like, crap. So this whole sink area is probably goofed up like this. You probably can't see this, but there's a big upslope, and this stuff is just like, particle board. So it kind of got wet. The tile used to be here, and it was just caulked between here and the tile. This cabinet or countertop was added on top of an Formica countertop before I moved into this place. And then I see a bunch of screw holes, right? I'm picking them out, and I'm thinking, hope if this thing is not glued to the original countertop, then I think we'll be all set. So I'm just unscrewing. There's a few screws underneath, and I'm picking these out. And actually, I'll probably get a hole saw and just do a depth cut. And it's looking like, as you can see here, you can probably see that laminate, the old countertop. I think I'm gonna just take this piece off, right, and then put a new piece of MDF on. It's cheap enough, and I ain't got to worry about this, leveling this out with Bondo and all that business, because it would be a while. It's doable, obviously, but I'm thinking taking this off is going to be better. Putting a new sheet of, not this stuff, MDF is better than this stuff, in my opinion. Once this stuff gets wet, boom, you're done. Okay, so once the countertop, the secondary countertop, the one with the Formica on it, was removed with the particle board, I discovered there's another Formica countertop underneath it, which is probably the original with the house. But that thing in the center there, that's just a piece of Formica that came up with the other countertop. So at this point, I'm like, okay, we're going to have to do, MDF over this. And I like a thick counter, so it was no big deal. But I've got the sink supported right now. And then I just started, like I said, we're going to use MDF, put it right back over it, and this will be a base for the epoxy. So that's what I ended up doing, and I did buy another sink. I wanted an under counter sink, so that is an overlay on a. It's not an under mount sink, the one we're looking at here. I did get an under mount sink, and did a few moves. I'm just pointing out the next move was to build this counter back up, and that's what we did. And I keep saying we. That's what I did. And I'll show you some clips of that, and then we can get to pouring this countertop, the fun part, right? All right, so got that counter installed over there, and we've got the sink on our temporary basis there, right? And we'll raise it up later with those. I also did a couple moves with shelves, but with those, you'll see when I get to that point. But so I just put some backer rod in here, right, on the backsplash, or just that foam round stock stuff, just to help fill it in. So next up is we're going to be bondoing all this, getting in the corners, filling all these screw holes. I should go ahead and put a little V in here in this line just to help that Bondo take in there. I might do that. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of tight. I don't know. we'll see what happens. But anyways, so that's where we're at. And then we're gonna do the edges. Bondo the edges, bondo the holes, bondo this whole countertop. So that's gonna take a minute. So I'll get to that. Mix and bondo up and all that. It's tedious. It takes a while because you can only do a small amount at a time, and just mix it up, do a little bit, mix it up, do a little bit. At least from my experience, you mix up a lot of bondo. You get good luck with that. Anyways, that's where I'm at. So just getting to some final touches with the, what do you call it, the bondo there, and then we're going to go ahead and route the top and the bottom, and then paint everything, not paint, prime everything, and sand in between coats, and if I find some little pinholes or something, we can definitely bondo in between. So the seam is here, and then it runs diagonally across, but I'm not, with the resin thing, I'm going to go pretty wide on both sides. This is flat as a pancake now, but as far as will you be able to see the seam if you just kind of bondoed in the seam alone, because the counter was kind of level, but I did go quite a bit past it, sanded it down just to be sure, because like I said, I don't want to get in there and have a little bump or something that you could see a line perhaps in the resin. So at this point, everything is sanded up. I got the edges routed. This is just a black primer and a white primer mixed together to get this shade of gray, and that's what we're going to use for the base color. We're just going to add the epoxy with some glitter. I used some blue glitter, some black glitter, and a little bit of that diamond dust stuff, and then that's all it was. Pretty simple to do. So let me show you the steps I did for that. Okay, this is the countertop. I just wanted to show you a little close-up. So it's got some blue glitter in there, some black glitter, and a little bit of diamond dust in there. And I just did a couple of scoops of the blue and a couple of scoops of the black, and not even one scoop of the diamond dust. And this little bit right here was enough to do my whole countertop. Now there might be something out there that, where you can get how many ounces or whatever to square footage. I just kind of, winged it. Let's just do this, right? I got 5 liters to do. So like I said, I'm going to do 2 liters here, 2, and then 1. And when we're mixing it up, we'll probably dump all the glitter in one bucket, mix that up, and then keep, switching it back and forth. Actually, I might need a 4th bucket for that. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And we'll just keep mixing it up. So this is just a 1-to-1, part A, part B, and I'm just filling the 3 tubs up because, like I said, I need like 5 liters to do that countertop upstairs. And then I mix it up with a paddle mixer, and then add that cup of glitter into the one bucket, and then mix that up, and then just kept pouring it back and forth just to have a uniform mix, going from one bucket to the other, and just kept mixing it, and that's how I got to that. So once I had everything mixed up, I had all the buckets ready to go. The window for this is, I don't know, I would say within an hour you got to have this stuff laid out before it starts getting, harder to work with. But, you got plenty of time. There was, so I'm just spreading this out with a 1/8 trowel, and I'm getting it close to the edges at this point. And then with the paintbrush here, I'm getting to the backsplash and around the sink, and again, just it's almost like painting it on, but just to get a uniform, coating here, and just going around the whole kitchen table probably took me, I don't know, if I had to guess, 20 minutes because of this little cutting in with the paintbrush deal here. You want to get the edges of the countertop and make sure you don't miss anything, and then just keep spreading it with the spreader. And now that's how easy it was. Now the glitter and everything is already mixed in there, so this is just a matter of pouring it out and squeegeeing out with your 1/8 trowel there. Like I said, it's pretty simple stuff to do. You can't really go wrong. It's self-leveling. I mean, as you can see, it's just like, I've got this sped up obviously, but there's plenty of time to work with is what I'm getting at. So once this is all spread out and everything is done, that would be the first coat, right? And then you let that set up, and then the following day, you want to sand off any imperfections and do this again. I did it again with a little less glitter this time. I didn't want to go with the second coat with as much glitter and bling. Alright, so that's the first coat. There's a few things that I'm not exactly happy with, but it came out pretty good. I'd take you up close, but there's a lot of sticky crap on the floor. And there's a few things that I can see imperfection-wise. You know, there's no way this could be the top coat. So tomorrow I'm going to sand this up and do another coat, and I'm probably going to do the same thing with maybe a little lighter on the speckles, definitely a little lighter on the diamond dust, but that'll be the second coat, and I've decided to do a third coat for the top coat, a flood coat, and this stuff will be pretty thick. So this is the first day. I know it looks like it's got a dent there, but that's just a reflection from a can light in the ceiling, but it's a flat, looks like glass, and this is the first day. So 24 hours I let this it's not exactly cured, but cured enough to sand it. And then I did the exact same thing, but like I said, a little more, less glitter for a second coat. And then I also did a flood coat. I sanded up once again after the second coat, any imperfections around the edges or, just looking for stuff. And then I did a flood coat. And now the flood coat was just no glitter at all, just resin alone. Right? Just mixed up the amount of resin I needed, 4 ounces per square foot, and just did a resin only coat. And I let that dry for 24 hours, and I ended up going with the ultimate top coat, the one with the sheen there, not the matte coat, the glossy coat. And I'll show a bit of that, and then that's it. And then I got to the backsplash and just kept going. But so using the ultimate top coat, it allows you to, within like 3 days, use the counter. If you just went with the mirror glass look, flood coat, then it doesn't actually cure for like 30 days. I mean, I think you can use the counter and just be careful with it after, whatever, 72 hours or whatever. But I like the idea that within 72 hours, your countertop is your countertop. It's all cured with the ultimate top coat. So that's what I ended up doing. I'll show you a little bit of that, and that's pretty much it. That's just a reflection from a ceiling light. So everything is good. We're just going to wait till till basically, what time is it? 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm going to go ahead and hit this with the ultimate top coat, and that's the last step. And we could start using this counter in 2 days. So no matter how flat you think this is, it's not. So next day I was lightly sanding this to get it for the top coat. But I thought it was perfect yesterday. I'm watching everything. This is a 220 little sanding block. And I already went around the edges with the Scotch 3M red pad here, and going around this tabletop, I'm just lightly sanding this, right? Just putting these minute little scratches in it. It's still picking up stuff, but every now and then I feel like a nice little burr or tick, like it. So you think it's flat, but it's not. Even wiping your hand over it, you're like, yeah, that's pretty flat. But then when you're going with the little 220, putting minute scratches right over here, you hear that? That's a big one. I mean, it's just like, I don't know if you can hear that. Yeah, you can see it starting to dull up. Those little bubbles. So I didn't pick, look at them all, holy crap, all on the edge there. That's a good thing I'm putting on a top coat. That's crazy. Because I specifically went down looking for that yesterday, and I didn't see them, but clearly they're there. I'll take a little closer here. So, when it comes to the flood coat, it is like, I don't know, I was paying pretty good attention, and I thought I had it licked. You remember, because I filled in these little imperfections here. Look at those. I don't know if you can see those. Probably not, but I can feel them still. So, I'll just lightly sand them and not really get into them because, like I said, I'm putting a top coat over it, and I'm using the glossy. It's got the texture anyway, so it's going to hide all these. But those are pretty significant that I missed. And I was up close with my reading glasses. I still couldn't see them. There's a couple more. Like I said, prep is the absolute worst. It's just so long, tedious, but necessary. I do want to make sure all this dust and lint and everything is off of there. And again, I'm under 24 hours actually. It's almost 10. I think I laid this down around 10. You might want to put this on the wheel before you do the tape. It kind of compressed it. A little hard to get on there, but I don't see much in the light, but back in the light, I do have a little protrusion there. I'm going to get the sander out. So I'm going to be careful on this, but like I said, the gloss top coat is a textured deal, so that little dimple there probably never going to show, but just being careful. Alright, so here's the plan. So I've got the green stick, the green rollers for I'm going to roll it on with that, and I've got a dry roller, 2 dry rollers in case one falls or whatever, and then 2 dry little guys for around the sink as far as you know, doing that little trim piece. I don't think a 9-inch roller would be a good idea to try to stuff in there, because I got my sink suspended down low, but the 9-inch roller behind there might get in the way with the faucet and stuff. So using the little rollers for the edge and around the sink edge, and then so once I start, I'm going to try to do this by myself quickly. I've got about 50 square feet, so I got to move quick, but this gloss is what I'm going to be using, and I've got about 50 square feet, so I'm going to mix up 10 ounces of this stuff and 5 ounces of the other stuff, which is way overkill, but I don't do this for a living. This is my last countertop, and plus I got 2 little other ones that are going to go over here and back where you can't see. So that's where it's going to be about 50, and overkill is fine with me as far as you know, having more, because there's no way I'm going to be, you know, you don't want to be short, I guess. So I'm going to go 10 ounces of this, 5 ounces of the other part, the B part, and 2 ounces of water. Okay, so I'm working alone here, so I have to go pretty fast because this stuff's got to go on, you know, pretty fast. Unlike the resin where you have a lot of time, there's not as much time with this. So I'm trying to hurry with this, but if you have somebody that can help you do this, one person could be rolling this on wet, and the other guy can be behind you with the dry roller, smoothing everything out, feathering everything, so you get rid of the roller mark lines and stuff. But I did the best I could here, and I know how it comes out. Obviously, I'm editing this, but so there was some imperfection. I did have some roller marks that I ended up, you know, sanding out later with a 10,000 grit, getting most of them out. But there were some imperfections with this. Again, this is my first countertop. If I didn't point them out, you might not see them, but I know they're there. They're little pimples that showed up that I thought this ultimate top coat was going to take care of. But it didn't. They still showed through, even though this has a texture to it, almost like an orange peel texture. But once this is cured in a day, you can almost use it. And you know, they recommend, I don't know if it was 2 days or 72 hours, but as opposed to just having what's on there now, just the resin, the top coat, you'd have to, this thing would take 30 days to cure. But putting this stuff on there, you can literally use this counter in 3 days. And as if it was a done deal. So anyways, I just speed through this and get it, like I said, the best I can. I was a little bit concerned with being, you know, behind the curve here. Well, I think you have a little bit more time than, you know, than you think. But again, you're all nervous. You want to get this done in a hurry. So then you start missing things like I said, trying to get the lines out, the roller mark lines. And it's not hard to do, but when you think you're under pressure, I'm just saying, it could have came out a little better, and it doesn't really matter because this stuff, you can literally take a 200 or 100 grit sandpaper and then follow it up with a 200 grit sandpaper, and that'll get rid of most of the top coat, or at least you know, sand it down, because there's 3 coats of resin there, so there's no, you know, chance of getting into, you know, beyond the resin. And you can do it again if you weren't happy with it. So it's not exactly like this is you need to be perfect. You can actually do it again if you want to sand it up. But I just left it because the imperfection, I'll show you in the next clip here. The imperfections are kind of minute, but they're there, and you know they're there, and that kind of makes you like, oh, crap. But anyways, it did come out good. I am using the counter now. The backsplash and everything's done basically in the kitchen, the cabinets. I finished them. The only thing left I have to do is the floor. But let me just show you a few clips and we'll wrap this up. All right, so today's the day we're going to have to make a decision what we're going to do. So along this edge here, I missed from the flood coat some bubbles that popped, or you know, poked up. didn't see that, and they're there. And then I decided just to go, lightly sand everything, go right over it with the Ultimate Top Coat gloss. And here's where we're at. Now, I thought maybe that would mask it, but it didn't. It almost exemplified it. And they're all over the place. If you look close on this edge, they're pretty predominant. I don't know if the camera's going to actually focus on the pimples there on the edge there, but so ultimately this thing is going to have to be sanded. Take a 120 down to a 220 and get this thing mostly removed in terms of the Ultimate Top Coat. But there's 3 layers of resin on there, so I'm not worried about burning through to anything, but just taking the top coat off is what I'd be interested in. But in the meantime, let's say I was living, willing to live with these pimples. I've got roller marks, which you're probably not going to be able to see. The roller marks are on the edge here, pretty predominant to the naked eye anyways. Again, I don't know if the camera would ever pick that up, but you can definitely see it, especially in certain lights, that there's a discrepancy. I'm not a big fan of this gloss stuff. But anyways, today I'm going to just see, because I want to move on with the cabinets and the backsplash and everything. I want to see if this, I bought some 10,000 grit sandpaper, right? 10,000 grit wet dry sandpaper. And we're going to go ahead and wet sand this to see if we can get the roller marks off. And if it does anything with these pimples, I'll just be thrilled on the edge there. And by the way, it's been about, I did this Sunday, this top coat, and it's Thursday, so I waited a little bit before we try and messing everything up, right? So I just get this wet and just go to town. Alright, so can you take like a 600 first, right? And then graduate to 1,000 grit and maybe 2,000 grit and work your way up to 10,000 grit? Probably. But I just didn't want to take any chances. That's why I'm doing this slow and just taking it off almost nothing at a time. You know what I mean? But eventually, the more times you do it, it's going to get down to a point where like you're going to notice. And then once it gets down to the flattest that it can be, and you don't see any more roller marks, you're going to be happy. You just got to keep going and just know when to quit, I guess. But I'm going to quit here, or I'm going to do one more coat of 10,000, and I'm going to quit there. And whatever it is, it is. If there's imperfections, I'm just going to live with them. But at this point, on the camera, you're not going to see anything. These are, there's no swirl marks. There's nothing that you can point out that is an imperfection. Okay, so using the 10,000 grit with the wet sanding technique there, it did do the trick. It took out my roller marks that I could see and some imperfections, and ultimately it worked out. But again, like I said, if you had to do the Ultimate Top Coat again, sanding it off, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal because we did put the 3 coats of resin down. The first coat, the base coat, was just the bling with the base coat. The second coat, same thing, a little less bling, and the third coat of resin was just the resin alone, no bling. So it was pretty deep with resin. So if you had to take off your top coat, it would be no big deal. But this did work out, and it did come out good. And I was able to finish the cabinets and get to the backsplash and finish things up. The only thing left there is the floor. But if you had to do this yourself, as opposed to, hiring somebody, not even resin, just like a regular countertop, a stone countertop, whatever, it would be pretty decent chunk of money. Doing this yourself, it's pretty easy to do, but most of it is prep. Most of it is the tedious prepping your counter, Bondo, getting the holes filled and then getting this thing smooth enough to where you can, finally get the resin on there. But once you get to that point, it's fairly easy stuff. As you can see, it's just a few steps and just a waiting process, repeat and rinse, So it did come out good. This is the first countertop I've done, and I probably won't do another one, but I'm just saying, as a first-time do-it-yourselfer, it came out great. So it is, you know, you don't need a lot of experience, just general common tools, you know, like sanders or whatever, and then you're going to be good to go. Anyways, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Well, I'll see you next time. Yeah.